Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we left off last time, the party had, in the wee hours of the morning, before really any sunlight had just started to peek into the sky, pulled into the city of Waychester, home of the imperial throne, the seat of the monarchy for the region, or the continent rather, of Aramea. They are armed with some information, and now, as they step off the train into the lower quarter, essentially, the residential district of the area, what do you guys want to do?
It's time to fuck their shit up with info.
With impunity.
I guess Tessian sort of makes sure everyone gathers up. It's like, well, okay, everyone, let's stick together. We're going to want to proceed to the, God, is it a palace, an estate? Where do they hold everything?
It's a castle.
It's a castle. Okay.
A Barrow Castle, which you have not been inside of, but you've been in the courtyard of for the coronation ceremony a few years ago.
And he basically relates that. We need to head to the castle. We'll have to check in with the guards and attempt to get an audience. I can stress my my lineage. I can attempt to use that and the direness of our situation, but there's no guarantee that we can get an audience with the Empress today, although I certainly hope that's the case. Try to keep any weapons, anything of the sort, to yourselves. Isaac, you may want to, lay low. Maybe don't announce who you are when we're walking around. I don't know what your father's reputation is here with the guard, but they may know more than some of the other people around here, given what we've heard from the Crusaders.
Noted, and way ahead of you. Would it do you more good, do you think? And I'm looking straight at Karash. If we were to not accompany you for the initial attempt to get an audience,
Ooh.
does that hurt more than help?
Tessian thinks about it for a second. He's like, I'm actually not sure if it would. I suppose your usefulness is in substantiating the claim, but you're not necessarily required for me to make the audience. Lena, I would probably want you, as you are at least somewhat of a representative of your people as well. Your standing might do me some good as well, but you make a fair point, Isaac. I don't know that I need you, but we would need to be able to meet up. If she's able to have the audience immediately, we wouldn't want to waste any time.
We can scout the area and see if there's a hotel or something nearby. We can lay low there.
Sure. Oh my gosh, does he know of any hotels? There's plenty of them. That's got to be. It's the capital.
You do. You stayed in the Witch's Cauldron at times when you were coming to visit Waychester for Thea purposes and not the coronation itself. Witch's Cauldron's near the Market District. You would know. Roll me a history check.
Oh, Lord. Rolls.
I know. Early rolls. Use your new stats. Everyone is level 7.
Oh no!
So sometimes, even with a +5 in history, you roll a 1. So.
You do remember the place you stayed. There's not a whole lot of other details coming to you because it was a few years ago, but you do remember there was a place called the Witch's Cauldron near the Market District. That's the biggest inn in Waychester by far.
Yeah, well, I've spent most of my time at a place called the Witch's Cauldron when I visited the city. Honestly, I spent a lot of my time on the campus and didn't venture much more, and it's been a few years, so I don't know if anything's changed, but I could easily show you the way.
Campus, is that code word for brothel, or were you being serious?
No, Thea went to school here for some time.
I'm just kidding. Maybe it's not the best time for jokes.
And he's like, anyway, come on then. We've got business to attend to.
What is Grail doing?
I am kind of awkwardly following you guys, but I personally, and I will just say, I don't think I have much of a reason to come with y'all. I'm nobody. I don't represent anyone.
Oh, you're not nobody to us, Grail. But
for
to
an
them,
empress?
yeah, you're no one at all.
Yeah.
So it's a good point.
Yeah,
But like,
that's-
because she's never been anywhere like even close to this.
It does
No.
Desi kind of holds up a hand though. He's like, well, hold on a second. There's something to be said for neutral parties that don't have any say in any of the politics here. Grail, your voice may speak a great deal, unlike Lena, who has her own family and people, and myself or Isaac's family. Even Karash, no offense, but you do speak on behalf of a deity and potentially a church. Grail, you have no such ties. Your voice may carry a great deal of weight. Don't underestimate it.
Well, I guess I didn't think of it that way. I guess there's a point there. If you think that you want me to accompany you, I will. It's a little scary, I must say. This is all very new. I thought Lycidian was interesting, but this is something else entirely.
Well, when we have a meeting with the Empress, I will want all of you there. You all have a voice to say in this, and you're a pair of eyes on what we've seen. So I think it's important that we put everything we have in front of the Empress. And that means all of us. So, well, we should probably get moving. I think time is of the essence.
Cool. Let's do it.
So we go
Yep.
Okay.
to the Witch's Cauldron first. We're
Okay.
gonna drop everyone off.
Sure. You guys exit the train station area, and pretty quiet overall. Even just a quick glance at the schedule as you're leaving shows the first train doesn't leave here for a couple more hours. There seems to be, at least on the two ends of this that you've traveled so far, this kind of quiet time overnight where, some of the last trains that left their areas late at night at the previous locations may be pulling into the last stops at this time. But for the most part, there's a window where none of the trains run, so to give people a bit of a break. And as such, there's a few people milling about, and there's still a handful of people that got off the train with you that have since moved on as you were having your conversation. But relatively quiet. And the same is true as you start to venture south towards the market district where Witch's Cauldron is. Sleepy town overall. You see a handful of folks out and about, maybe people who are heading to work early, but seeing as it is, it's like 4 a.m. at this point. It's not exactly what you'd call bustling. The scope of the city doesn't exactly leave a lot to imagination. You can imagine there's all sorts of people around here, and Tessian, you know as much to be true having been, but at this particular hour, you kind of have free reign to head wherever you want to without having to fight traffic or anything else. And as such, in about 15 minutes or so, given the size of the city, walking past the outskirts of the residential district as well, kind of bordering the two sides of the market in the residential area, you guys can see that, Tessian, from past experience, the nobles have their own area, the Zenith District, where there are much, much nicer houses for anybody with kind of any magical lineage roots within them. But even commoners or lower nobles in this town do well for themselves. And as you guys walk along the exterior of the market and the residential districts, you can see there is no such thing as a shantyville here. There is only really good, decent-sized houses, really nice, clean streets, and that same kind of overall white look pervades throughout the city. It's almost remember Falstock, for example, had its more seedier underbelly areas that were either dirty or in ill repair. Nothing you walk past in that 15-minute stroll over to the Witch's Cauldron is anything like that. It is all very nicely made, well kept, and sort of striking in how different that is compared to other towns. After about that 15-minute walk, you step outside and you see the Witch's Cauldron, a large brick canyon, a royal red tiled roof. Hedges are a little overgrown on the outside, and you can see on the exterior there appears to be a small stage and a seating area that is for performances. Testing that sort of rings a bell, even though you're too dumb to remember anything, apparently. Again, at this hour, nobody's outside, whether they're just even using the tables and certainly not performing because, people want to sleep. But you can see this does appear to be this small performance area on the exterior of the building. And as you step inside, on the interior, there is somebody working the front desk at the moment, but even though there does appear to be another, like a lot of the other inns you've been to, there's an adjacent tavern type area. It is empty. If they do have people that are allowed to drink at this hour, there's nobody there. Your guess is they probably just don't allow people to be down here drinking at this hour because that's irresponsible. There's also a large grandfather clock near the front desk. We're talking like 10 feet tall, very ornate. And on it, you can see essentially 4:15 as you approach the gentleman at the front desk.
Well, Tessian approaches the front desk. Usually does this for everybody, but just, excuse me, sir, we'd like to get 2 rooms.
And I'm
up?
hanging in the back. My hood is just kind of up. It's kind of slinked away.
Okay. It's a weary-looking half-elf from the looks of it, who kind of gives you a strange look as you approach, and you kind of piece together that's probably because of the time.
Yeah.
And he, sort of rubs the stubble, the 5 o'clock shadow, as it were, and he says, for this few hours now, or for this next evening? It's kind of a strange time.
And Tessian's like, well, let's do 2 days, the next 2 days.
All right, very well. How many rooms do you need? We have 2 beds in a room.
God, we don't really need that many fucking 3. Who wants a double bedroom? Anybody? Can we cozy up? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Then 2. 2 rooms is fine.
Okay. He kind of shuffles around behind the desk, looks to dig for some keys. Does sort of seem like he's out of it, and overnight shift and tail end of it. Seems like he's a little slow on the uptick, but eventually he turns back around, says, all right, 2 rooms up front, get you a bit of a discount. It'll be 7 gold pieces then, please.
Holy Christmas.
I paid a good man.
7 gold.
It's really not that much more than
know,
you've been
it's
paying.
not.
It's 2 rooms for 2 nights, but sure. Starting to get the sense between this and our other campaign that Sean's characters don't understand the economy. We had a thing in our other one, just for the quick aside, where it was like 2 copper for food and he wouldn't pay it. It's expensive. It's like 2 copper. So he hands you over keys to consecutive rooms from the look of it. And they're up on the 2nd floor if you want to go check them out.
Honestly, Tessian will just pass the keys to, I don't know, like Isaac and Grail. And he's just like, well, if you guys want to get settled, that's fine. And he probably hands his backpack to one of you. And then he's just like, but I believe we should head off to the Empress as soon as possible.
Best of luck.
And he looks to Lena. Lena, if you don't mind.
I just give you a nod and I head out, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Am I going with you or not? at this
No.
point?
No.
We're all gonna go. Apparently, we're all gonna go if we get the message that we're gonna have a meeting with the Empress. But they're gonna approach.
You're a
first.
big
Okay.
snack boy and you would scare people.
Hey! I prefer Danger Noodle.
I love Danger Noodle.
That's pretty good, actually. We should make that your new last name instead of the
Yeah.
Thunder.
Mysterian. The clan name is Mysterian, and it's my first name.
Sure.
Mysterian Koresh. I don't know why this is so complicated.
Danger Noodle Karash.
Mysterian is draconic for Danger Noodle.
So Tessian and Lena head off. What are the 3 of you guys going to get up to?
I'm gonna go check the rooms, and literally, I'm gonna be sword out, opening the door carefully, checking the rooms.
I'm gonna check the rooms briefly, and then I'm gonna take a walk around the city. Well, unless we should wait to hear back from you guys. What are you guys gonna do?
Well, you should ask Isaac
Yeah.
that, because I want to say something. But I would
Yeah.
also, when Crash has a sword out in the hotel, I'd be like,
In the
Crash.
hallway of the room we're
Come
gonna
on.
go into. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
I would still be
whipping
like,
it out
come
in
on,
front of
man,
people.
it's okay. Look at this place. Show a little class, huh? Put your sword away.
I'm not going to put my sword away.
We say that as Connor
Okay.
jumps out of
Yeah,
the
Hey, bro.
I'll be dead and standing over you. I told you so. I told you so. I
with
told
a
you so.
mana cannon, just like.
I like the idea that it's a hand crank. Like a fucking Jack in the Box.
Just one of those old school mobster scenes. They roll up in a carriage. They all get out with hand
Yeah.
cannons and just
Yeah.
hose the whole hotel.
At the very least, Chris, is there anyone else in the hallway? I would guess not at this hour, but okay. Then I feel a little like fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
I'm not completely insane.
And I will kind of ask after I quickly look in and drop off like my banjo and stuff like that. I'm gonna say, well, should we wait here or should we take a look around?
Is anything going to be open this early?
It doesn't have to be open to take a look around and get familiarized with the area.
I kind of want to, but I think we should wait. Especially because they're not open anyway. We want to make sure that in an emergency or with a quick meeting with the Empress, if that can happen, we want to be ready to go, I think. But I'm with you, Grail. I want to go too. Card shops, book shops, weapon. I just want to go shopping, which is strange, but so many options here in this huge place.
Girls just want to have fun.
We're far away from the ranch and the islands, for that matter, Crash. Have you ever been in a place like this?
Like Obsidian was like this.
Not as nice, though. I almost don't want to walk anywhere for fear of getting it dirty.
Yeah, what kind of people live here? I mean, usually in a city or a town, you got all sorts, independent on the economy. It, kind of varies. But here, it's hard to say. I haven't seen anybody really, but it seems very, very upper class.
I would have used the word insulated
Hmm.
in a few different ways. But until we meet anyone, I'll try to reserve judgment.
That's fair. All right, then. I guess we post up then.
Now, let's stay on the lookout, and I'll go to the window of the room. Chris, what can I see from the window? It doesn't have to be huge, but like, is the castle side? Is it like the river side? Like, which can I see? Nothing. Is there just another building right there?
Up on the second floor, you can see several other nearby rooftops. A lot of the houses in the residential district are 2 stories, the vast majority. But towering above them, you can easily make out what you've heard mentioned offhand as A Barrow Castle. It's sort of, especially as the sun just starts to kind of peek out over the horizon, you can make out from this distance that A, there's multiple spires on the outside, B, it's at least 40 or 50 feet taller with the exterior walls than any of the nearby buildings. And just like some folks could see on the train ride in, I think this was really only Tessian and Lenna because they were the only ones awake. You can see the draping red banners that hang out over the exterior walls intermittently with that same familiar crest, that shield with a 8-pointed sunburst in the middle that designates the royal family. Beyond that, I mean, you can, as you're looking out, from what you can see from this vantage point, there are a handful of people seemingly starting to stir and head out into the streets, but you can see just out of the kind of like the side, the market district, and it still does not appear to be bustling with activity at this point.
Okay. I'm just gonna look out there and probably have like conversation with Grail and Karash, but nothing that like we need to go over.
Okay. Tessian and Lenna. Tessian, you already have a sense of which direction to head. At the very least, to get close, again, having not been in the castle, but you know, first of all, it's hard to miss. It's big, and second of all, you've been, so no difficulties whatsoever in heading the right way. It's strange because this was, God, what was it, 7 years ago, I think the coronation was? I'd have to double check, but it was more than a half a decade ago. So you're familiar with the area. It kind of brings back memories. And heading towards the castle as you head further north and then to the west as well, you're struck by a few memories, both of the time you attended the coronation and also just visiting here in general when you were seeing Thea at a much younger age. They're positive memories overall. The time you spent with her here, she was among her happiest because she loved the intellectual challenge, and they were simpler times. You guys always had ties to your respective families, but in this case, at that age, you weren't really beholden to them yet. They existed. They were always in the periphery, but for the most part, you could just be kind of yourselves and spend a lot more time with each other, not having to think about the big picture at that point. As you get to the courtyard exterior of the castle, I'll have you both make a perception check.
Just reminiscing, like, you know, I think we ate at that yogurt shop over there once. It was a delightful evening. Oh, this
Yogurt
sucks.
shop. You would.
I'd probably ask him questions about his time here, and I'm probably also really overwhelmed by the sheer size of this place and just absorbing it. 19 perception.
8.
Okay. Tessian lost in thought.
You know, so many memories.
Lena, one of the things that's striking to you is the city is essentially the size of Lycidian in a different way. Just from walking the streets, even though there's not a ton of people out and about at this hour, the sense that you can quickly kind of glean from everything is, while the acreage is as big as Lycidian, it's much more spread out. Just from a quick guess, you would estimate that this is maybe like half the population of Lycidian, because there are so many more people tightly packed in what is basically the major hub of activity for the region, especially for, like, you know, commoner folks and not nobility. Whereas here, the scope of the city is, again, almost as impressive, and in its own ways it sticks out, but the difference is it has a lot more room to breathe. Whereas everything in Lycidian just felt, especially when it was the bustling daytime, just felt like horribly compact. And you sort of remember that kind of uncomfortable feeling, for you in particular, not having been that used to it, of the densely packed streets of Lycidian. Mm-hmm. Here, not only are the streets more open in general, but you just get the sense just from looking at the number of houses that you walk past as you go. There's a lot of people here, but not Lycidian a lot of people. Looking into the courtyard, there is a large multi-tiered fountain in the center. Tessie and you remember there was a makeshift platform that was put up behind it for the whole ceremonies, and they had brought in some kind of seating arrangements and stuff. But now, much more open, and expertly manicured garden sort of surrounds the interior of the wall that divides it from the outside area. And it's similarly quiet. There are not too many people milling about, a handful. A couple of them you see are guards from the looks of it. Yeah, I mean, I don't care that you rolled a 1. Testing, you would remember that as the Crimson Reserve. It's the town guard for everywhere except inside the castle or connected to the Empress. She has her own guard. But they watch over the rest of the city, commoners and noble part of the district alike. So a couple of those members seem to be milling about. And there does appear to be an entrance to what looks like a foyer of sorts across this courtyard on the far side.
Well, we'll approach it, the little the foyer, the little entrance area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Inside is striking. Even just as the foyer of the entrance hall of the royal family's castle, there are perfectly polished pillars. Say that 3 times fast without all over the microphone. that you can almost see your reflection in if it wasn't for the contours kind of throwing them off, and ludicrously fine pottery in the corners of the room, and a resplendent, I love that word, rug covering the whole entryway area that, a lot of times in other cities you've seen these and you can tell they've been trod upon with, there's imprints, there's some dirt, that's not the case here. In fact, Tessian, roll me an Arcana check. And Lena, you can too.
Sweet.
It's not really your wheelhouse, but you know magic.
It's a thing.
Tessian's better at it than you are, which is fair for your characters.
23.
Am I better? I rolled a 10.
Not today. Not on this day, as you have all these thoughts tumbling through your mind.
I like that you let him remember on a 1, though, because it's like, unless ones are going to start erasing memories, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, these are such... Like, he's going to have there were other things he may have been able to remember that were a little more off-kilter, but it's like, is there an Empress in this city? Hey, SpongeBob!
Exactly.
Lena, you have seen Tessian in his travels use prestidigitation.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to mention that, actually.
To sort of wave things away, and now as you kind of look around, it's like, this is almost uncanny, and there are no such things as vacuum cleaners and the like, but you get the sense that, like, they must go through daily, if not more often, or they have some kind of effect that can do it automatically or something, but, like, you can tell from a glance, they keep this place pristine, even more so than the city, which already looked like, choice, like, kiss your fingertips good. There's definitely some magic at play here. And that makes sense, because for even what little you know of the capital, there's a lot of magic users here. Mm-hmm. It is not out of character to think that everything in this place is sort of upkept by non-traditional means. At the front desk, as you guys enter the foyer, you see... I lost my note. Hold on. Scroll. There appears to be a male elf who has on fine light brown robes, long past his shoulder length black hair, pretty piercing blue eyes, who is also wearing what appears to be a slightly more elaborate version of the Crimson Reserve's reddish plate armor. And he sort of eyes you guys as you walk into the room.
We'll approach him, and Tessian will just kind of lean over to Lena and just be like, follow my lead. And as Tessian approaches him, he'll sort of give him a nod. And I apologize for the hour of the day, sir, but we have urgent news to deliver to the Empress. I am Prince Tessian Nikolai Black II, and this is Lena Silverquist of the Sowenwood.
I give him a nod as well.
He shakes both of your hands, says, Shaw de Harcourt. It's a pleasure. Urgent business, you say?
Tessian nods, and he's like, of the utmost, sir. I do believe that it may very well change the... let's just say that the security of Waychester is potentially in peril.
Well, we need to take any threat seriously, but you must understand there is a long waiting list to see the Empress, and if we allowed anyone to come in here and raise a panic, there'd be no stopping anybody from having access to her. They'll need a little more than something urgent.
And Tessian kind of pauses for a second, and he's like, I'm not sure I understand. Or perhaps you're not understanding me. This is not something that can wait. This is something that, if the Empress isn't made aware of this, you may not have a keep in order to keep people out of in a waiting list.
And I'm not certain you understand. While I'm loath to throw away any potential leads on risks that would threaten the Empress, it's not so simple as rolling up to the front desk and saying to someone that her life could be in danger, because if we reacted by jumping every time someone said her life was in danger, we'd be putting her life in danger. Now, I'm familiar with your family's name. That means something if you can prove your lineage, but it's not so easy as saying fire and having the Empress run out of the courtyard to be assassinated in the middle of it.
And Tessian just sort of straightens a little bit. He's like, well, I've never heard of you before, sir. And the information I have could very well fall into the wrong hands. So while I am not here to besmirch your name, how do I know that, well, that I can trust you?
He kind of gives you this strange look, as if he's taking the measure of you, because this is, different than probably most of the conversations he has.
And Tessian will even kind of interrupt him, and he's like, to be clear, sir, the information that we bear involves a number of elements potentially within the political system. I'm not here to sully your name, but there are those that we have come across in finding the information we have that could easily have infiltrated here in yourself. I mean, no disrespect. Yeah, I mean, no disrespect.
I should be doing more of these, so this is a great opportunity to start it out. And the way you're rolling is probably not going to work.
Well, I'm sure that's the case. Oh, 22.
22.
Hey.
You see him, hesitate. Sounds like he's undecided. It's more like he's just weighing everything and considering his options. He says, an impromptu audience with the Empress is out of the question, but I may be able to run this up the flagpole. There are other people who may know more about this, who can verify your identity and perhaps fast-track you. It's possible that you could be able to meet her later today, but this moment, no matter what the risk is absolutely out of the question, especially at this hour.
Tessian nods and kind of looks to Lena and sort of like that seems reasonable. And he's like, that would do just fine. We simply don't want this to get any bigger than it is. Again, no disrespect at all, sir, and if you do need to question me and my lineage and why we're here, you could ask the Crusaders. We've worked with them on this particular topic, although the information that we've gathered is a little, well, recent. They may not be fully up to date, but they should be able to verify who we are and our cause.
He sort of nods. He says, that gives us a channel to check through. It's appreciated. Do you have a place to stay in the city?
Tessian nods, but doesn't say where.
Okay.
Until he asks. Yeah.
Okay. He says, well, I would advise you to... you're welcome to wait here in the foyer, but it may be a while. That kind of information, even though we have some magical ability to speed the process, may still take a while. But we could always send word once we've made a decision one way or the other.
I don't know. Tessie will kind of look to Lena. It's sort of like, just to gauge what she thinks about this.
Oh, boy. I give it a moment and say, well, if we can't meet with her until later today, we don't need to stay here in the foyer. If it would be best for us to wait in the city and you can contact us through magical means, then I think that should suffice.
And Tessian will look back at, I didn't write his name. Shaw here. And that was like Harcourt or something?
Yeah, Shaw de Harcourt.
Or whatever court.
Whatever. Shaw de whatever.
Whatever. I can't write things.
Excuse me, his lineage is very important. Everything in Waychester is very important.
The Harcourts have a long line.
Yes, I am Shaw de Harcourt.
Well, we're staying at the Witch's Cauldron. You can contact us there. Rooms. If I saw
Whatever.
the keys,
I
I give them the rooms. Yeah, and Tessa's like, you can reach us there, and I do implore you to please expedite this as quickly as possible. The longer that this takes, the more that there are elements who may try to stop us and take the information we have. The longer this takes, the worse off Aramea as a whole is.
He nods. He says, well, we try to give every thread its due diligence, and we'll be the same thing here. We'll be thorough. And I would expect to be in touch later today, tomorrow morning latest. One way or the other. And I'll warn you in advance, the answer could be no, but by giving us a place to start, that will help things. I was going to say exponentially. That only that will help us quite a bit.
And he nods. And oh gosh, he thinks about something for a second, but resents it. He's like, "Well, very well. I appreciate your assistance to Harcourt, and we hope to hear from you soon."